Today my talk is on model-informed drug development, or MIDD, in the AI era. So my name is Nirnith Devireddy. I'm the CEO and founder of In Silico Minds. We are a company that's focused in artificial intelligence as well as computational modeling and simulation. We work with some of the top Indian pharma companies. So the top 10 are our clients today, like for example, Aurobindo, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, to name a few. And we also work with large pharma players globally like Merck, as well as ranging from small to medium-sized pharma and biotech companies as well. You can think of us as a digital CRO. So we are focused on offering in silico studies as services to our clientele. And the beauty of in silico is that it works across all product types. So we support NCEs, NBEs, which is a growing importance in India, complex generics and generics, API development, and other areas as well, like vaccine development. A little bit about our organization as well is that we do have a 70-plus scientific collaboration network. So earlier today in some of the talks, you heard a lot about the importance of data sets when it comes to model validation and building models. So for example, the FDA is one of our clients as well as data partner, where we get access to private data sets that help us further bolster and validate models for our clients. We also engage with regulatory bodies. So a part of this component is ensuring that we can submit in silico generated or AI generated evidence for regulatory compliance. This needs to translate to safer and more effective medicines and getting these medicines to the patients. So let's take a step back, because we hear a lot about AI today as a word, as a buzzword. And I just wanted to show you what in silico is. And the pharmaceutical domain has been doing, let's say, automation or data analysis or pharmacometrics for more than 2 decades now, with the first models being developed by the FDA back in the early 2000s. So as you can see here in this diagram, computational modeling and simulation is nothing but mechanistic-driven equations or statistical-driven equations that allow us to model things such as, for example, PK/PD of a drug or ADMET of the drug. In silico is nothing but an overarching term. Just like how there's in vitro and in vivo, in silico is basically anything R&D related done computationally. Now, where does AI come into this picture? Well, artificial intelligence is nothing but a new technology that works alongside the traditional mechanistic computational modeling and simulation. So just to lay it out there, these are some buzzwords that you keep hearing. But how does this translate to the context of pharmaceutical development? Well, AI and machine learning are nothing but technologies. Computational modeling and simulation is the backbone. These are knowledge-driven models that characterize PK, PD, blood flow rates, dissolution rates, many other elements that can be captured from a mechanistic or physiological standpoint. LLMs and agentic AI are again another discipline within AI. And last but not least, you've been hearing this over and over again today, but human in the loop and explainable AI are very important in terms of how, in a pharmaceutical setting, AI is not replacing essentially scientific decision making. It's acting as a co-pilot or a decision support. Therefore, from a regulatory credible standpoint of data generation, there must be a human in the loop and explainable AI, which we'll talk about a little bit more later in terms of some case studies of what to do and what not to do. So models, as we talked about, mechanistic models and now AI or artificial intelligence models, this is the difference between both. So a data model represents an AI model. This is where data is taken into account, patterns can be formed, correlations based on data sets and how these data inputs and variables and outputs interact. In terms of mechanistic models, this, as I mentioned to you, has been around for 2 decades now in the pharmaceutical industry. And these capture, as I mentioned, PK, PD, cause and effect, mechanistic or physiological understanding. So, for example, how do we apply this, right? So you can look, for example, here how an AI-based dissolution profile model can be created, where inputs may be taken into account in terms of, let's say, dissolution in different pH levels, and how the drug can behave or act accordingly based on that. Similarly, we talk a lot about PBPK models, which are as I mentioned, 2-decade-old modeling approach in our industry. And these types of models can also be further substantiated using AI. So MIDD, or model-informed drug development, is the term that we are using today, where the traditional R&D process is augmented at any step of the place, be it early in the discovery or development, into preclinical and clinical, and even post. And the idea here is that this quantitative evidence generation through validated models, be it mechanistic, traditional, or AI models, will help us reduce time, effort, cost, and increase probability of success. This is the future of pharmaceutical development, and India is in an excellent place to do this. So where today is AI actually working well? Alongside computational modeling and simulation. So PBPK, PKPD modeling is working really well in the Indian context. Many companies, including our own that are supplying generics to the rest of the world, are using these computational modeling and simulation approaches to get, for example, biowaivers, partial or full, from regulatory bodies like the FDA or EMA. So we can actually substantiate or justify evidence using these types of traditional models. AI as a technology as a whole is also streamlining traditional modeling. It used to take us, let's say, a few weeks to run these models. We're now even setting up these models from a data curation, data analysis, and output standpoint, and then putting together the evidence into, let's say, a regulatory dossier or regulatory digestible format, is where, for example, LLMs and generative AI is coming into the picture to help support. So again, we talked about how AI is making an impact, but today, AI has not necessarily, let's say, even if it may have discovered a drug, and as speakers earlier had said, we haven't gotten past phase 3 or into, let's say, market approvals. But we shouldn't discredit this as a technology. As I mentioned to you, mechanistic modeling's been around for a couple of decades. We've been using these types of approaches to substantiate data, both from a quantitative and qualitative perspective in drug development. But also, it is not so far off where, yes, some of these AI-discovered candidates are getting into stage 3 or phase 3, and there will be approvals. And the floodgates are opening. But it's not just about, let's say, discovering and getting it to the end goal. Today, as it is, AI is supporting in reducing hit and trial, trial and error, rank ordering formulations, better patient selections, better clinical trial designs. So it is fundamentally already making an impact. And just because an AI-discovered drug gets to market doesn't mean that the current impact that it's making is not relevant. So as we talked about, we need to keep a lot of things into mind: explainability, data quality and biasness, traceability and reproducibility, and human in the loop. So we talked again about where's the high impact of AI today. So automated extraction and structuring of data, be it, where all your clinical data or pharmaceutical data today, be it your manufacturing data, your clinical data, your preclinical data, the consolidation of this into a data lake is what allows us to apply AI technologies. Where today, many pharma companies that we work with, unless they have aggressive digital transformation or IT goals, are yet to even have this foundation where data can come together. And that is the starting point. And what do we not do with AI implementation? So this is a use case from the FDA where they flagged a company, this is a cosmetics company, where they just simply used AI to generate some GMP compliant documentation without a human in the loop actually reviewing this. I mean, isn't that common sense, right? Where common sense is not so common. But again, this goes back to the point that human in the loop is important. AI can give us data. It can give us, let's say, the most probable answer or way of putting together a regulatory document. But if a regulatory expert on your team is not validating that output or double checking it and simply submitting it as is, we will get into problems. So, from an FDA perspective, as you can see, FDA is not also treating AI ML as a different technology. It's just a sequential technology alongside the traditional models. PBPK, as I talked about, QSP, IVIVC, IVIVR models, population PK models. And they are using AI internally as well for, let's say, streamlining bioequivalent assessments, which has been very helpful for streamlining our Indian generic pharma applications in US market approval. They also have an internal LLM that they use, which is a co-pilot. So similarly, we see that this is going to happen in India. And us as an organization have been working on the forefronts with this. So we have met with the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Sri Manoj Joshi, and we're spearheading a concept called In Silico India, which we're also working with the CDSEO and DCGI, sir, to help upskill. As a part of the Biopharma Shakti mission, India's next national opportunity is transitioning from being a generic pharmacy of the world to, let's say, where our focus is on biologics and biosimilar development, where we have already a strong IT and bio-IT talent force. So combining this together, what we're trying to essentially say is that if our goal as a country in the next 5 years is to develop, let's say, 100 biosimilars for, let's say, a 5,000 crore clinical trial budget, we can actually get to a 30% efficiency gain and get 150 biosimilars out if we can use model-informed drug development and AI alongside it. And this is where our opportunity lies, where we can bring together, let's say, these types of things. And last but not least, I want to show you a real case world impact with what my organization in Silico Mines has done today here in India. So this is a Hyderabad-based biologics company called Curatech, which is a subsidiary of Aurobindo. And this is just to show you the power of in silico as a whole, be it traditional modeling or the new AI-based models. So in this case, they were working on tremucimab, and they had done their phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials during the COVID time period. So there was some patient data that was missing based on how the trials were monitored or studied during, dropouts and these other things. That skewed the data. And the EMA came back with queries saying, there are gaps, how can you justify these accordingly? And as an organization, they had 4 weeks to reply to these comments. But that's, very difficult, right, to redo a study, especially at that level. So what we did was we built the model based on their phase 1 to phase 3 data, validated that, and explained the impact of the covariates, be it the tumor burden, the growth, and these other factors, weight, age, to ensure that there was whatever discrepancies were highlighted by the EMA were handled. And so within 2 weeks from submitting the model evidence, we got a positive marketing approval for Curatech. And within 2 months, we were able to rescue this clinical data, and they got their full marketing authorization across Europe for this product. So this is the power. And if we can combine this together, we as a country can definitely be on the forefront in terms of not only efficientizing our existing drug development processes and goals as a nation, but also getting into the discovery and being an innovator of the world. Thank you all, and happy to answer any questions.
Question from audience? No, I think everyone is hungry or it's a time for lunch. So no problem, sir.
Sure.
Your good presentation, and I think you have saved Curatech
Yes.
as per your statement.
Yes.
And yes, we know that Curatech is coming with good biosimilars and products in India also. We have inspected them
Yes.
from CDSCO side. I am assistant drug controller from
Yes.
CDSCO and currently based at Hyderabad at airport, before that at zonal office.
Right.
So I heard from these words from our Drugs Controller General India in silico, and we are also may implement the same in our organization as FDA is going on.
Wonderful, sir. And we'd be happy to help support you in those
I
initiatives.
don't know you will get tender or who will get, but yes.
Sure. Thank you again, sir.
Yeah, wonderful, Nirnith. I know Nirnith almost more than 2 years now. So you are doing wonderful work and keep it going.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you.
One basic question.
Yeah.
So if we take your model, so in the old context, one drug has to be first a compound chemical and then isolation and then animal models and then human models. It will take some 10 years or so to come into the market, something like
Right.
that. So with the AI, how it is going to be shortened, how much it is going to be shortened?
70% savings in terms of time and cost. So there's an exact figure now also. So great. Very well. Yeah, at any stage. And like I said, I mean, you heard it here too. It's not, the earlier you do it, the more savings. But in the case that you're in trouble, it can be used to rescue as well. Yeah. Right, right. You can save. You can save also. Yes. Yes. Great. Thank you all.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Curatech. Hi.
Sure. Hi.
So based on your product or the service offering that you are having,
Right.
who are your key customers in the Indian pharmaceutical industry?
So it's,
Number
as I
one.
meant, yeah.
And number two, are you able to crack into any big pharmas of the world? If no, then why? Like, why?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
What are the challenges that you face?
Sure, sure. So thank you for that. So our key customers are, in India particularly, are folks working on, let's say, generics, complex generics, biosimilars, which is majority of the work out here, API development as well. So we work and help support in, let's say, using this in silico data to reduce, for example, their internal testing, which formulations, if they've done 4 or 5, which ones do they need to take forward, and so forth. So the internal decision-making component. Also, more and more now, regulatory bodies are encouraging and actively accepting the in silico evidence. So a lot of companies are also trying to figure out, okay, how can I also use this in silico evidence, let's say for biowaivers, or maybe I did on a lower strength a study, and now I'm doing a higher strength, and can I use this data to circumvent doing on the higher strength, and so forth. So these are types of things that we frequently work with to make this process more efficient. Even companies that are, let's say, launching a drug in market A, but they want to go to market B without repeating, let's say, the studies over and over again. So that's where we use, for example, population-driven models to say, okay, in this population, this is how the drug is behaving. We change the physiology and so forth, and how will this behave in a different population. Now, coming to, let's say, the US, European, and rest of the world markets, as it is, India has been positioned where we are the CRO leaders of the world. We have the Syngens and the Biocons and et cetera that are, working to kind of offer these services globally. And we are trusted in terms of clinical trials, and we have an ambitious goal, 1,000+ clinical trials through Biopharma Shakti. So similarly, I see that we are also, as a nation, are transitioning into being a bio-IT or digital CRO hub and spoke model for the rest of the world. And India, just as we are seeing a lot of the clinical trial outsourcing, they are choosing to kind of work with us to, let's say, whether it be custom develop these models or run these types of simulations at a much more cost-effective model or advantage point. So we do get a lot of work from outside of the country, and it's also becoming increasingly a hot destination for smaller biotechs that may be working on grant monies or don't have as much, and they need that their bang for their buck. And so all this early discovery, development, and things have been helping to support these types of companies. And they've, as it is, that connotation has always been there that India is a lower cost or cost-effective solution.
So thank you for the explanation. I just have a quick question on how can your product or a service reduce the first in human, means time to first in human component. Can you please describe it?
Absolutely. So what we do is, and so this is essentially from the preclinical to clinical portion of the process. We can, through these mechanistic modeling approaches, we can use, for example, a concept what we call, which is allometric scaling, which is now further coupled or bolstered by some AI-based approaches as well. So we're extrapolating, let's say, animal data to human data based on like physiology changes and so forth. We can then also, based on that, also predict, for example, the dose and optimize the dose accordingly. And this first in human is not just for humans as well, but it can be interhuman, like, for example, a geriatric or pediatric populations as well. So, as I mentioned to you, computationally, we have the flexibility to change these physiologies to accordingly account for these populations. So, you can then, at a micro level or a macro level, look at how the FIH studies would happen based on this existing data and then move forward accordingly.